Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Osa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams. And today, I'm the founder and principal of Osa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment.
Today, we're joined by Ben Visser, founder of Social Design House, a dynamic branding and digital design studio located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Throughout this episode, Ben shares his entrepreneurial journey and discusses how digital design has empowered the growth of his business. Join us as we delve into the inspiring world of design and entrepreneurship with Ben Visser.
Hey Ben, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
Good, Jack. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming. Ben, tell me about your day today. What have you been doing?
Today, pretty busy day. So started with some email, pretty standard stuff, and then a design review for a SaaS marketing site we're working on for a company called Sunday Sky. So we're helping them redo kind of a refresh of the homepage. So we did a presentation for them, for the CMO and the design team, which is always fun. Those are cool things, you know. Put some ideas in front of them, collaborate, bounce some things around. But it's about 30 minutes, solid. Everybody's pumped. We got some good direction going. Drove up here, hung out in your office, kind enough to let me use it. Sales meeting, then quick break, another sales call. So it's heavy sales day today, but met some good people, had some good conversations. So it's solid.
Nice, man. Sounds like a productive day.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, usually, things, they don't go that way. Sometimes I'm going to start my day and I make a lot of lists. And I start my day with my list. At the end of the day, I haven't even touched the list yet.
I've seen your lists. I tried the list. I did the list for like a week, and then I realized, gosh, I'm just not a list guy. I fight those battles all the time.
You need to push it.
I need to get back to it. Yeah, I try things. That's my mentality though. I got that squirrel brain mentality.
Cool. Well, Ben, I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. I've known you for probably a little bit more than a year. I think.
Crazy, yeah.
And we've been sharing our experience going through the EOA accelerator program from the entrepreneur organization. So it's been really cool to learn about your business, how you guys work, the type of work that you do. Also, it's been very interesting to learn how similar our businesses are.
That is super interesting.
We sell, we're both selling design services completely different, but the business model is almost the same, the delivery, the project. So that's really cool as well. So I'm excited to learn more, about you, who you are, your family, what you guys are about, your business, and just learn more about each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can definitely some facets to it. You got your family, which is what, it's why we do this, to support them. I've got 5 kids, wife, a couple dogs, which, a couple of, I'll give those away right now. They're super yappy and barky.
So 5 kids and 2 dogs?
Yeah, 5 kids, 2 dogs.
Wow.
Yeah, no more living things in my house allowed.
That's it.
Yeah, I got suckered into a hedgehog a couple years back. I learned my lesson on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, my middle child, she's a bit of a mess. She's all over the place. She said if she kept her room clean for 1 year, we said, all right, we'll get you a hedgehog.
Yes.
1 year, she put like plans in place, and 1 year went by, room was clean. We bought her the hedgehog. Worst idea in the entire universe. Stinky, pokey, just a terrible pet.
Oh my gosh.
The day after she got the hedgehog, room was a mess. She just turned it right off. It was hilarious. But yeah, no more living creatures in her house. So yeah, 5 kids. They keep me busy, but they're all old enough, kind of self-sustaining right now. But that's why we do what we do.
Nice. How did you get into design? Early on. How did you decide? I kind of like this kind of work.
Absolutely. So I was always a doodler. So in class, my paper was never blank. It rarely had what was actually supposed to go on there. It was patterns, drawings, Drew tons of Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles. I was always drawing something, always doodling something. So when I was young, wanted to be an illustrator. Realized real soon that you had to be like on a very different level to do that. But I continued, that creative side. Was a big band kid when I was in high school. Senior year, I joined yearbook staff. So my buddy Mike's mom, Julie, ran yearbook, and they needed somebody to do the senior ads. So I offered to do that, and realized I was pretty good at it. I could do some layout. It kind of blended. I loved computers, gaming. So it kind of blended those two worlds pretty seamlessly, right? I could do my art, I could do my drawing, I could play around on the computer all I wanted to, and there was kind of a purpose there. There was and a creative side to it. So it kind of scratched a couple of those itches, which is really cool. Yeah. And then, so not till my senior year did I didn't take any art classes. I took one photography class. I was terrible at it. I'm much better now. But I didn't really understand what it was to be an artist or what it was to be a creative. I hadn't been exposed to that, but I went to Winthrop, got accepted to the design program there with a really average portfolio and just an idea of what I could do. Yeah. So I got in there and had a bunch of foundational classes for 2 years, drawing, 3D, sculpture, pottery, all that stuff. Laid a foundation of creativity and exploration. And then last 2 years were all fundamentals, design program stuff. So, graduated with a design degree from Winthrop back in 2003.
2003, wow.
Yep.
So, tell me a little bit about that education, because, we always have these two things that are inevitable in design is technology, right? So, computers, CAD or Illustrator, all these tools, but design can live easily without any technology. You can draw traditional methods, the foundations of design principles, they're always the same. Technology is just like another tool to take it to another level. So during your education, how much technology was part of the teaching, or did you guys rely on that or not, or what were like good or bad things about it?
Yeah, that's kind of where I kind of split. So they did a really good job when I was in school of starting you with the foundations, right? Yeah. With the pen and with the physical media, which I hadn't done a ton of in a formal setting. So we started there, and what really got me interested was when I got into those core classes where we had Illustrator, freehand. I'm going to date myself a little bit, Photoshop, and those were the programs. Corel Draw, Quark, Express.
Yes,
with the little alien key cut shortcuts. Like that was it. That was your suite of products that we were utilizing. But hand techniques, sketching, space, typography, like you said. Like all that, those fundamental concepts of design. Yeah, those are all the same, whether they're physical or whether they're digital. It all kind of comes through in the same way. But I think I saw myself moving more into a digital path. There's a lot of kids in school who did photography, and they 35 millimeter wouldn't no digital. It's not pure. It's not true. And I was like, give me the digital camera. Yeah. Like I can store millions of images and have unlimited stuff. I want that. I wasn't interested in the old physical media. I didn't see I got it. I understood it, but I didn't have that like heart tug that a lot of people did with it. So I was very much like, give me on the computer. Yep. Like I'll scan stuff. I'll put it in. I'll digitize. That was a big piece for me. I love tinkering on the computer. So nice. It was a nice blend. So I had a couple of years of very physical hand skills, which I still use to this day, sketching, doing layout work and stuff like that. Good to get quick ideas out. And then, very quickly transition into everything digital, like learn all the programs, shortcuts. I ran the computer lab in college, and I was always helping people. That was a big part of, how I learned to guide and grow and teach. Yeah. You got 50 freshmen in there trying to learn a program. Might not be my job, but I'll help you out. Sure. So I always loved that blend of digital and physical and stuff like that. So I've been there ever since.
Nice. And that's a huge differentiator that people have access to that sometimes they don't use it. And in my case, it was very similar. I always liked computers. I don't know why. And when I was still in architecture school, we were drawing by hand. And computers came out, and then AutoCAD, and I was so curious, and I started learning on my own. They didn't push technology too much in architecture school. It was very like, just learn the basics, you learn the technology later. But I got it too, I learned it within school when I was there. Then we had some classes, and that helped me out big time, because when I moved here to the States, those were the skills that opened the doors for me.
100%. Yeah. So I had a similar story, right? Like technology is just starting to take over the design world. It'd been there a little bit, but web and digital was new, right? The idea of a front end developer or a interface designer didn't exist.
Right.
You were a designer. You just happened to tinker in that area.
Yes.
Like there wasn't that specialty. You didn't have silos of specialty within what we do now.
Right.
Like there's probably 6 different, like what I did altogether is probably 6 different jobs.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Right. It's been split out and specialized and focused. So it's such a different place. But, when I graduated, I was one of the only people. I turned every project I had into a digital interactive project. I took digital photography. My final project was a website that had my photos. The photos were secondary, right? I wanted to build something. I wanted to create something interactive. So I just turned every class I had into something I could make something interactive out of. So my teachers saw that, and they saw, it was relevant, and they were, they supported it. I had a ton of artist friends. So one of my first kind of niches. So we always, run into design studio. I'm sure architecture too. You find yourself falling into kind of these niches or finding these like little pockets of energy or jobs that kind of fall in your lap. So when I first started school, or at the end of school, my junior, senior year, I had a bunch of artist friends. So since we had to do those foundation classes, I was in school with painters. I was in school with printmakers. I was in school with, just pure artists. Who were like, I'm going to be an artist. Yeah. I'm a digital artist. I need a client. That's not my bag. But so I would build websites for all of my artist friends. Just for free. I didn't care, like give me your assets, scan your drawings, give them to me, and I'll build this super cool, interactive portfolio for you. I get to do whatever I want. They don't care. They get a free website. They love it.
Oh yeah.
I'm learning, I'm doing flash work. I'm doing great animation stuff, building portfolios. And when I graduated, that turned into, some of my first, gigs as a freelancer was doing work for graffiti artists out in LA, Sabre, Risk, all these dudes have been doing this stuff for years and years. But I'd build PayPal stores for them so they could sell signed and number prints. I charged them $5,000. Yeah. Build them I had a content management system I built myself. Yeah. They plug it in, put a PayPal button on there. I made a CMS to do it. They'd sell these things out in, 3 minutes.
That's amazing.
Pay me make $40,000. But it was a cool little pocket I had for a while, which all kind of, stemmed from art school. So, but that energy, I try to bring that to all these other projects. Now, bigger stuff, corporate stuff. Yeah. But you always want to kind of bring that energy back. So it was cool.
That's cool, man. That's amazing. So your first job, what did you do? What were your first things?
Going way back, first actual job was Michael's Arts and Crafts. So, steeped in the physical arts of Michael's Arts and Crafts. So I was a stock boy.
Great start.
I just got Christmas trees down for the old ladies. They'd feed me lasagna and stuff. But, I got all my art supplies from there during school and things like that. But it was a great job to start. But my first job out of school, so I interned with Banks, he's an EO. Mm-hmm. He ran Union Agency, just sold that to a large European company. I found him online. So I found him. I just wanted an internship doing digital, doing interactive. Yeah. And I looked at every single studio in Charlotte, right? Yeah. Went to all their websites, and his was the best. And so I was like, oh man, this company looks great. I want to go check them out. So I call him up. He says, oh yeah, come do an interview. So I go off of Westinghouse Boulevard to this tiny little office, and he'll tell the same story. It was, probably half the size of this room, like old office, and just him. And I walked in, and I was like, where's everybody else? And he's like, oh no, it's just me. And this guy, props to Banks. Like he's an entrepreneur, he's a creative, and he was producing the best work in the area. Wow. And I was like, can I intern with you? Like, I don't need to be paid. Like, I just want to teach me what you're doing. Yes. Cause this is awesome. Like, I want to be doing this day in and day out. Like, so he was like, all right, I'll give you lunch and just come in on these days. And so I started to. And he gave me some real projects. It wasn't like I was getting coffee kind of intern. It was, I got shit I got to get done. Yeah. I need you to execute. And I was like, heck yeah. He'd teach me, and we had great rapport. My buddy Robbie, who's a developer, ended up coming on full time for him. And when I graduated, he offered me a job straight out. Didn't make much money, no benefits, nothing. But my wife was teaching at the time. We had insurance covered, and I was doing what I wanted to. I saw the future of it, right? Yeah. I said, this is what's next. Like doing these, layouts for print mag. I was like, no. Yes. Just like that 35 millimeter photography. I was like, No. Like, show me, this is the future. This is where the opportunity is going to be. So I dove all in and, didn't make a ton of money, but we didn't, we were young. We didn't need a ton. We just kind of scraped by for a few years and learned a ton. Learned how to be on the front lines of a business, learned how his sales process worked, got to be in the sales meetings, got to, just see what it felt like to kind of run a studio. So props to Banks for having a little faith in me. And, but we won some awards. We won, like my first year out of school, we won like Charlotte, Gold Addy, Best in Show against like, these massive, agencies here in Charlotte. And
So,
just
so
like
during that time, what software were you guys using? Was it that like WordPress?
So we were WordPress was just blogging software back then. That wasn't even a thing.
That's right.
So we were like a step back from that. So we were Photoshop for interface. We do some stuff in Illustrator, started to, but Photoshop, man, we had layers, and Command Z had just come out. It was just hot. You could actually undo something amazing. Yeah. History palette. Yeah. Holy crap.
Oh yeah.
Definitely dating myself a whole lot. But, we did all our interfaces in that, and then we use Flash, we're big in Flash, animation coding.
Nice.
Still miss it to this day.
I used to use Flash. I used Flash and Dreamweaver.
Yeah, Dreamweaver, all that stuff. So those are the tools of the day. They just now, it's same stuff now. It's just been replaced by different technologies and things like that. It took a while to kind of get back to where it was. But that was it, man. That was the jam, and we were all in on it. And it was fun. It was both. It kind of combined motion with content management. But no WordPress, no CMSs. Banks and Robbie built this thing called the Toolbox. And it was like custom built, ground up, modular, something, so it was a great offering. So a lot of these companies would come and be like, how do I manage this content? Oh, it's record-based, database driven, hooks to your front end, just like a WordPress is now, but it hadn't caught up yet. Yeah. So, I built my own too. But back in the day, like there's so many options now. You got Webflow, you got Framer, you've got all these kind of like, like AI generative stuff, is much more, ground up back then. Yeah. Do it yourself. But that gave me the foundation and understanding of what a good tool is, what a good integration is, what a good, experience is. So, yeah.
Interesting. So you're working at Union, learning, having fun.
It was Studio Banks back then.
That's right.
Old school.
Tell me about that point where you start thinking about having your own business, and how did that transition happen?
Yeah, so that was just kind of organically happened. I was with Banks for like 2.5 years, 3 years. It was great. We had moved to a new office. We had grown from 3 to 7 or 8. So we saw some growth. It was fun. I was about to have my first child, Cooper. We were young. Me and Sarah got married 24. We had Cooper 25. So kind of young family, starting up. And I just saw opportunity. Like I was like, I feel like I can do this. Yeah. And I feel like I can make a little more money. I had two folks I worked with, Tamara and Zan. They ran a design studio. And they were like, hey, they did print, they did identity, a lot of more traditional media. And they're like, we don't do the websites. Everybody's asking for these websites, but we don't do them. We know you can do them. So I freelanced in the evenings, just kind of knocking out a few small things. I did their website. I did a couple, small projects, make some diaper money, what I mean, to kind of keep things rolling, which was nice. And then they got to the point where it's like, hey, we've got 4 opportunities here that this could, like, here's what you can make in a year if we just do these things. Like, we'll give you a space and we'll help you out with a computer to start. And I was like, all right. So I saw opportunity to like kind of jump on. My wife was teaching at the time. We had insurance. We had some of the basics covered, right? So I ended up jumping off. Worked with Tamara and Zan for about 6-7 years as business partners. They ended up, Tamara's amazing artist in Charlotte, Zan's photographer, ended up, buying them out over time, just as wanted to continue to grow the business, push it digital. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I kind of went from Banks into that was, support from a couple folks who had been doing it a bit, a little bit of kismet, like, hey, we need this, you do it. Yeah. You probably need a little more money, you're about to have a kid, so a lot of things kind of aligned and it felt right. So it took a little bit of a jump. My wife Sarah's always been my kind of champion. You can do it. Even if I'm like, I don't know, man, that seems like a lot of pressure. She's like, nah, you got it. So she's always had, much more confidence in me than I ever had. So that was a big part of it too, having her support and kind of guidance there. But yeah, I had a couple partners there, and but that's how I kind of went from, working small agency into my own. And then I did it on my own a Company was called Nice Outfit. It was kind of it was a one-man shop. That was me.
Yeah.
Still own the domain. Probably should sell it. I don't know. Or start a clothing company, one of the two. But yeah, I did that for a few years. Sarah ended up, we got to the point where we were making enough revenue and I needed some help on the sales and kind of content side. So we had a little tiny office downtown Rock Hill in the courtroom. It was up in the annex where they used to deliberate for the judge. It was super cool space.
Yeah.
So, that's where we lived. So she'd bring Cooper up there in the carrier. We'd put the baby seat out and we just work. We had a couple desks, our own bathroom, but it was a fun couple of years during that time, kind of growing that.
So, tell me about your business today. Who's on your team? What kind of clients and projects do you guys work on?
Yeah. So we're, branding digital design studio, social design house. So we've been around 14 years. So we do brand identity, marketing materials, website design development, do some app work, do some photography, have some great partners we work with for video and things like that. But, we're pretty nimble, small but mighty agency, kind of full service agency without the kind of that overhead, of a bigger 80, 100 person studio. So we can do the same kind of thing, but just much more nimble, much more flexible. So right now at its current state, we've got, 8 full-time folks, which is, we're growing. For us, that's great. For a long time we sat at, 3 people, 4 people, we could never quite get outside of that. I think doing these EOA classes, having a little confidence, getting older, you see it's okay to grow a little bit and to kind of push. So right now I've got a project manager, content strategy person who kind of does some account stuff, 3 designers, Sandy focused on brand, McKenna focused on UI UX, and then a junior designer, Savannah, who kind of helps production work and smaller stuff. We've got 3 developers in-house, so we outsource some, but it's all to, either folks I've worked with in the past. But I've got 3 front-end engineers. Taylor's our senior. I got Ethan and Amanda on the back end. So any stuff we build, it's all in-house, kind of supported. And then, myself, who's kind of overarching, kind of glue guy. And, Chelsea running the show, project management, stuff like that. So
nice. Sounds organized.
Yeah. It took a second. It wasn't always that way.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody's always wearing hats, but over time, you start to, see the need or see where people fit the best, and you start to build an organization where it's like, all right, these are teams.
Sure.
These are kind of pockets of talent that works together. And I think as you scale, like hopefully just create some more of those teams, and continue to build those layers. So, but I'm still figuring that out, I don't come to entrepreneurship naturally. It's,
I know,
you got to learn it.
There is a lot to learn there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about entrepreneurship, but before that, I was gonna ask you, just in general, since web design is your world, what would you say are the 3 most important qualities of a well-designed website today?
Probably simplicity. I think a lot of people try to be cute. They try to, make navigation clever instead of obvious.
Yes.
So I think, making sure you're empathetic to the user. When you're young as a designer, I think you design for yourself. You design for yourself and your peers.
Yes.
Would my buddy Robbie think this is cool? Would do my peers that I work with, my design team, see that I'm using this new trend?
Right.
It's so easy to get caught in that that brain or thought process. But the older you get, the more you realize, man, this is so much more than me. And
that's right.
Actually, none of this is for me.
None.
It's for somebody
I'm just a tool.
Right. Like somebody is buying a service from a company that I know nothing about, but I need to get them to this.
And it's their project because they're paying for it.
Right. And so you gotta, so what you start to realize is, getting back to simplicity is you have to tell a story in the most quick, succinct way possible.
Yes.
Right. So when we start a website design project, I got a couple going on now. We spend so much time just on that hero area and on that single sentence that the first thing you see. What is the visual feel and tone of the brand?
Introduction.
And what is that sentence?
Yes.
Where is because that's
the first
that's
impression.
the one.
That's it.
All those other pages, it's important. You got to have thought process there, but man, you got to hit them and tell exactly what you do as quickly as humanly possible. So, and that comes down to simplicity. That's not easy.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, we always ask for hey, give us some inspiration. What brands do you respect when we do our initial client calls? And I'm always like, You can't say Apple. You can't say Nike. I mean, these are multi-billion-dollar
Yes.
brands. Apple's got a $3 trillion market cap. Like,
Yes.
we're not gonna they have.
Yeah.
I get it, but I always cut out these big ones. Say you can't
It's a
say
good
that.
one.
Find me
Yes.
something maybe more in your realm that
Sure.
who's a
Yeah.
similar size.
Yeah.
But Apple, they're so good at that because that's what their core values. That's what Steve Jobs is about simplicity, about that messaging. So we spend a ton of time on that kind of stuff. And
So
it feels easy
simplicity.
because,
What else?
you have to differentiate in one or two ways, whether that's visual from a brand perspective, colors, pattern, energy, video, motion.
Yeah.
There has to be that
There's
one
something
thing.
unique.
I always
Yes.
challenge my team. So there's, design, this is probably a whole other conversation, but design is turning into a commodity
Yeah.
with AI, with pattern libraries, with the foundational elements are kind of commoditized now, right?
Sure.
I can go get a grid. I can go get I can get a tab system.
Yeah.
I can grab this, but what is that thing that makes it special? It's usually the asset, the feel of the interaction,
Yes.
smooth
The
motion,
flow,
bouncy motion, the flow. So you have to spark interest in one or two ways, out of the gate, that differentiate. Because a lot of the stuff, the underpinnings are going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Every site's got a 3-column grid. Every site's got a tab navigation.
Yeah.
Every site's got a drop down. There's these kind of fundamental
Sure.
building blocks.
Yeah.
What are those one or two things that are unique?
Yeah.
Is it
that's a
that
really
core
good
video?
point. Yes.
Is it that video? Probably in architecture too.
Yeah. Same thing.
These are walls, these are desks.
Yeah.
How is it just a little
Yeah.
different? And it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to change everything. But so I always challenge my team.
That's a good. That's a good point.
Say, let's not waste a bunch of time redoing what we already know is going to be there. Let's get to that point faster, so then we can spend the time on the two or one thing.
Yes.
That's going to be interesting and make people remember. So maybe there's another one.
Yeah.
So simplicity,
uniqueness.
Uniqueness. Yeah.
And
Find
what
that
was the third one?
unique differentiator. I'd probably say manageable, which is a big one, right? If I go to a
really good
client,
point.
if I go to a client and they got to call me every time, I got to make.
Yes.
And this goes beyond design. This is
Sure.
information design, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's data design. So if every time they got to make a change, they got to call me and say, Ben, we just got a new marketing director. Here's their photo.
Yeah.
That's slow. That's a process.
Yeah.
There's a back and forth. There's friction
Sure.
to that, where you have a team. Let me empower your marketing team to do these tasks. If you have that ability, you shouldn't have to bill me. And let's just take the time up front to build this in a way that's logical.
That's a really good point.
And so manageable, I'd say, simple, unique, and manageable. Because a lot of what I work on, commercial real estate companies that have, Foundry Commercial, who's one of our clients, they have 600 different properties.
Oh,
they don't want to call me every time they
No,
gotta change a square footage or a leasing update.
Yeah.
They need to be empowered as users to upload a photo and systematically be able to go in there and hit update and boom, it's done. Have backups and stuff like that. So I think manageable is a big one, and probably
that's super important.
Yeah.
I keep thinking in architectural terms, and it's exactly the same. Simplicity. Just design something that is simple to build, because it's gonna be cheaper.
Right.
You start doing gymnastics. It can be done, but it's gonna be more expensive, and it's not your money; it's the client's money.
Yep.
Then you have the uniqueness. Yeah, you wanna make it interesting. Do something. Do some move.
And
Somewhere
it doesn't have to be
is
everywhere.
the lighting, is the
Right.
color, is a mural,
Yeah,
it's a canopy. It's one thing you're like, oh wow, look at this.
Yep.
And the third one will be, for example, maintenance. Right? If I design a building that is hard to maintain, or the roof is inaccessible, or the windows will get dirty and there's no easy way to clean them, well, I cannot just design the building and leave. I need to think about who's going to use it, how they're going to maintain it and clean it. So that totally relates to what we do.
Yeah, I think we continue to find parallels in our industry. You know what I mean? Because it is fundamentally design.
Yeah.
We're just, you're doing physical, I'm doing, but it's the foundational elements are all the same.
Yeah.
The ideas and concepts. So super interesting.
So I want to talk a little bit about business. We made at EO, which is for small businesses to kind of grow together, learn about each other, educate yourself. And you have a good amount of time growing your business.
Yeah.
So tell me about that experience. Where do you see yourself today, reflecting on the past 14 years, and now where do you want to go and how?
Yeah. It was a big journey. I could probably spend hours talking about this. We won't though. We'll distill it down into a few minutes. So I told the story about, Started out of school, internship with banks, gave me a great opportunity, learned a ton just as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a, to see how the sausage is made, right? Like I'm in the meetings. I'm not just doing the work. That was amazing. When I jumped off with Tamara and Zan, we combined. So I ran on my own for a while. Yeah. So probably about 3 years, 4 years. I was solo crew, was me, was Sarah. I'd freelance and have interns. Yeah. I've met a couple great, designers, Brandon Oxenide, Jay Flood, a couple guys I still keep up with this day that intern with me that helped me out still through internships when I was on my own. But eventually, Tamara and Zan were growing their studio. I was growing mine. It kind of overlapped a little bit. So we were like, hey, let's get together and, kind of combine these things to continue to grow. Sure. We felt like that was the path forward that made sense. Yeah. I was young. I had not great at the books, not, all the business acumen that some people just naturally have. I didn't have. I had the creativity and I had the work. It's like everybody says, you got to get out of the business. And easier said than done. Sure. Because we're technicians. That's right. The classic mentality of we do the work. That's, now that's the easy part. Running the business is the challenge. That's right. So I did the work really well. I knew just enough from a business perspective to run the QuickBooks, to send the invoices, to get the jobs done. Yeah. I had the, mentality to kind of execute, and, my family relied on it. Like that was our core income. So if I didn't do it, we were cranking up that Amex again and maxing it out. When you're young, that's where you're at. You're kind of bootstrapping this thing, and it's sometimes it's not pretty. Oh, sure. When you do it, when you're learning. So, but over time, I learned from my initial business partners. Eventually, I bought them out. Paths, kind of diverged as far as what the goals of the business were. I wanted to continue to grow. I wanted to push digital. I wanted to go down that path. So, about 6-7 years in, we did that. And then I kind of took the reins and have been growing it, individually ever since. So, like I said, we kind of got stuck, in that 4 to 5 range, where we got, you grow to a point where it got uncomfortable, because to grow, you got to get uncomfortable. Sure. It's just the nature of it. Yeah. It's not going to be happy-go-lucky, sunshine, rainbows, make a lot of money. It's new challenges, different challenges. I got too much work. I don't have enough work. How do you balance all that? I need to bring in people. And for a while, I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't want to take that risk and have the confidence. So we always kind of hovered around 4 or 5 folks with some freelancers. And then as you get more comfortable, as you get more confident, as your network builds, I was able to, kind of add some layers, add some people. A lot of times we'd bring on an intern, and that was Taylor. From Winthrop, we do a lot of interns. Savannah, who's with us, junior designer, she's an intern. So we worked with a local, university at Winthrop, and what we would do is we'd put that piece in place and be like, this is valuable. This allows me, because I was our lead developer for probably 10 years. I was coding websites for 10 years. I haven't coded a website in 4 years, but it took me that long to get out from under, to find the person, to take the risk, to do it. So now Taylor runs that. He's got a team of 2 others that run it too. And then, then you start to look at it different. You start to look at it like, what am I doing day in, day out? Yes. And I continue to do that. I mean, it took me 43 years to figure it out, but I'm starting to realize that I just got to replace myself in these different areas. And, so we brought on Chelsea, our project manager, phenomenal. I was like, Lord, I should have hired her 14 years ago. Like, what in the world? But it takes you, as a business owner, you're stubborn. You want to own it. You want to, control it. Sure. And I think I'm now starting to realize, I don't have to. It's more about empowering this team that I've put in place, all this talent, these amazing designers, these amazing builders, and just giving them the tools and the space and the time to do that stuff. And then get me out of the way. Let me do sales and marketing until I don't want to do that anymore. And then you find that person. So, it's been challenging.
What makes you guys unique, and who are your ideal clients?
Yeah, unique. I always say we're uniquely collaborative. I did 2 sales pitches today, and I always lead with the words collaborate and together. So we're big on being able to blend with an organization. Yeah. So we might, we're a small team, we're nimble, we got a bunch of different skill sets. So we'll go into an organization who might have a sales team, they might have a marketing team, maybe 7, 8, 9 people, but they don't have specific digital skills or digital marketing skills, or I don't have a designer, or my designer just left, or they have holes, right? They have gaps that are hard to hire for. So we'll come in, at a fraction of the cost of hiring a full-time employee with benefits and all that stuff, and be able to provide those services at a fractional rate, right?
Yeah.
So uniquely collaborative is one big differentiator for us. So I always tell people, like, we want to be the meeting you want to go to.
Yep.
So when that meeting notification pops up and
You're
it's
like,
you got a
go.
meeting with SDH, we're going to review this stuff, and be like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because a lot of people come in and they're like, oh man, I've been in these sales calls, been doing this. Now let's like, this is the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we get to nudge pixels around and talk about moving shapes and
Yeah.
little this and that. I'm like, this is fun. You know what I mean? Like, we're building.
Oh, yeah.
It's like freaking Legos for adults. And so I try to keep that mentality. And the only way you do that is by being collaborative, being open and easy to talk to and
Sure.
easy to communicate with. And how are your kids? Your kid came, like, cool, let them bring them on the meeting. Let's say, hey, put a little funny face on the video. Like, you just have to be collaborative and approachable and empathetic. So that's a big one.
Nice.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
And who's your ideal client?
Ideal client. I love people who respect design.
Yeah.
So we work with a lot of CMOs, a lot of design teams. You have to respect design. You have to understand that it has power. So if you don't respect design, like we're not going to align because you don't see the value in what we do. So you kind of have to have an eye. You have to have a respect for design, and maybe you don't know how to do it, but you know what's good, right?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, you know what's good. You have an eye. You have, who was it? So Rick Rubin just put out a book. I can't remember the name of it. I haven't even read it. But what I've found hilarious about what he was saying was, he's like, I don't play an instrument. I don't do any of that. But I've got an ear and I can hear what's good. So my opinion. And so this is a sidebar conversation, but like design being commoditized, it's going to become more about your, ability to see good quality.
Yes.
Like what's right.
Yes.
And then AI can build it. And then you need 20 variations. I can pick the best one.
That's right.
I feel like there's, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
The future of design. But I find that interesting. So, I don't know where I came off that tangent.
No, I think we were talking.
Yes,
respect of design. Yeah. Because to me, it's exactly the same. When I have a client that respects design, it's awesome. Mm-hmm. But not all clients respect design. So I've learned to, design is interesting because I feel that design, it's an act of passion. Like you love it. Like you love it.
Right.
And so there you become, I think, emotionally attached to your creation, right? Not only mentally, rationally, but now you love your creation. And that's a relationship.
It is, yeah.
And you want others to love it as well. So, and that's what's interesting, that they are a good product because we put so much of us in it. The problem is when we put too much where we don't understand or conceptualize. One, this is not my project. This is the client's project. Yep. It's their money and it's going to be what they want. I'm just helping them because they have some gaps between their idea and the execution of what they need to do.
Yes.
Whether it's a building or a website. We know what that gap is. In my job is to fill that gap in a professional way, showing them options and providing my recommendations. Yeah. But if it's not what I want, it's not going to be a project that I'm not going to love or appreciate. Yeah, the project has its own life.
It does.
So I need to be able to, at some point, detach myself emotionally from my physical creation.
Yeah.
Because it was just an attempt to help the client.
Yeah, I think it's good to have that physical, that emotional relationship with it, because that's what drives you to want to make it better. But yeah, the older you get, you realize at some point this has to kind of detach, and there's gonna be voices that need to be heard, and accommodations that need to be made because of different various things, codes, and all these things.
But at the end of the day, I come back to the same thing, which is what you were talking about, and is I always say, people don't buy products or services; they buy experiences. Even more than that, they buy how they feel about themselves when they're interacting with that product or service. So when you say, I want people to go to my meeting, I want them to say, yeah, let's do that. It's because they feel good about themselves during that meeting. Yeah. They feel appreciated, they feel value, they feel that they heard, they feel that they're giving a contribution. So what we're really selling even as an architecture firm, architecture is just the method we have to exchange money for a product or service in the marketplace. But what we're really selling is selling how people feel about themselves, because if they feel great in one project, they're gonna want to do it again.
Yeah. They see success.
Yeah.
People enjoy the space. It feels nice. Right. Yeah.
And what's magical about that, they start respecting more design. And you listen more. And they respect more your design, and you listen more.
Yeah, it's definitely a push and a pull.
Yeah.
I always tell clients, at the beginning of a project, I'm always very clear, like, you are the expert. I had a sales call today. Guy started his business, been running it for 21 years, wealth of knowledge, probably incredible, treasure chest of knowledge within this area of consulting expertise.
Yes.
I'm always like, I'm never going to have that.
Right.
So I will never have that. I will look to you to guide me. I'm going to layer on like what I know, but I'm always here to listen, right? I'm always here to take your perspective, because yours is much more rich in history and knowledge and depth. And I'm just going to take that and try to simplify it, provide clarity, provide, something that's manageable. Like, I'm going to put my pieces on it, but I always try to be very clear. Like, hey, this is a collaborative effort here.
Oh yeah.
Like, your knowledge and understanding is as important, if not more, than mine. I'm just trying to harness it and, flip it in a way that feels powerful and exciting and fun.
Yeah.
And they like that. It's like, people love that idea, but it's true.
Sure.
Like, I'm never going to know how to do consulting for this, like, massive, like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to know.
Sure.
But I can take your kind of words and flip it into a story.
Yeah.
And tell that story in a positive way. So, I think that kind of breaks a barrier when you say, when
it does.
Speak to somebody like that. Like, hey, this is going to be, we're going to have some back and forth.
Oh, sure.
I'm not going to be right.
Yeah.
Like, I'll probably be wrong a lot at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then I'll learn, like that. I always tell people, like, we'll learn.
Yeah.
Like, we'll figure out what's good, what you like, what you don't. But it's going to take a second. So I always
I love that interaction of client and designer, especially at the beginning, because it's a whole relationship since it starts. And there,
100%.
You have confidence, overconfidence. You don't know what's going on. You have expectations. You try to do your best. You don't know. But I can tell you that, the biggest thing that we gain as designers with experience is confidence. And that's just like 90% of the battle right there.
Yep.
The confidence on presenting your solution, the confidence on, I've been through like different stages, because, when you're going to present a visual idea for the first time, there is always, some people, oh no, you should present 3 options because that here and there, or 2 options or 4. What's the magic number? Oh, no options, but why? And there's all this psychology behind it, which I understand the whole spectrum.
It's different.
But there is one thing, which is just for basic efficiency, just do 1 option. So you don't have to spend time doing 3. But there are times when you need to show options. So I'm always very strategic about my default is 1. That's it.
Yeah.
And the way I backed up not showing option is I'm going to go into detail. How did I arrive to this solution? I'm going to walk you through it. Yeah. Because when that happens, now this didn't show up by chance. There is a process behind it. Yes. Right. So that didn't help. Is working really well for me. But sometimes I show options. But it's very specific because of the client. I think
100%.
I'm reading here. We need to show options here.
Yeah. Because everybody's different. Like, you realize real quick, like, this person wants to see a structure, and then like 4 slight variations.
Yes.
And they just want to have an opinion and they want to piece it together. And that's fine. Like that's their creative process. Some people are like, I don't know anything about this. I trust you. Boom, one option.
Yeah.
This is the one, I'm going to tell you how it is. Do you still get emotionally, like when you present options, do you still get nervous? Like when you pitch?
No, not anymore.
I still do sometimes.
I don't get nervous, but
I still get a little nervous. Sometimes I'm like,
I get excited about my option, my favorite one, secretly.
You put the little gold badge on the
yes.
top of it. You're like,
a little bit bigger.
and this is option 2. I mean, it's fine. It's got the weird dead bush in the side.
It just looks great and just meets all the requirements.
Yeah. You put the weird stock photography in the one you don't like.
That's right.
That awkward guy
Out of
down
a scale,
street.
like a kid 7 foot tall.
What is that? I don't like this one. There's a bunch of weird people in this neighborhood.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
No, that one thing I learned is never present anything you're willing to live with.
Yes.
Don't present options just to show options. No, dude.
Yeah.
That always.
Yeah, you got to be willing to
backfires.
you got to either be willing to like this has potential and you got to push.
Yes.
Or be able to like give up your best one. So I find we just did we're doing a project now for a company and we presented 4 options. It was supposed to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were iterating, as we were creating, like one popped up and I was like, there's something there.
Sure.
It's already done. Toss it in there. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
It'll take an extra hour. Toss it in there. We were supposed to do 3. We said we did 4. Client was like, oh, okay, you did a little more. It was there. It was, and I kind of like in the back of my brain, I was like, there's something there.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not going with it, but it was good to get like the brains turning. But we had a favorite, and eventually they all kind of gravitated towards the one we liked.
Nice.
But it is funny because sometimes they'll pick stuff, and you're like, really? That?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a good, exciting. Sometimes you're like, I don't know.
That's
and then
right.
you have to like back your way into like, all right, here's how we're going to work this out. It's just going to take a little more work to kind of massage it a little bit. But I still get a little nervous pitching. Some mornings I wake up, especially if I did it or I had, did some of it. I'm like, oh, do I still got it? Is it still there?
But you know how I see that? You have it. You always gonna have it.
Yeah.
I always gonna have it. The whole thing about the presentation and the interaction, it's about trying to understand if that client is a good fit for you. That's it. But you got it. That's it.
Yeah.
If they're not a good fit, it's not gonna work. But you always got it.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought. Like,
there's confidence there for sure.
The fact that we're not a good match and for some reason we're not aligning doesn't mean that I don't have it. Yeah, I do have it for all my other clients. It's just not gonna be for you.
That's why I like hanging out with you, Jack. Heck with them.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. You're just
it's beautiful.
You're interviewing them.
That's pretty much, yeah. We've been doing this long enough.
Yeah.
I should have more confidence.
Yeah. So one of the things that I say a lot about owning my own business and which I like is that there's so many, every day is completely different. And when you're small, you're selling, you're doing accounting, you're doing design, you're doing this, like all types of work, every single level. And to me personally, it's very satisfying because I feel that it forced me to become a better person, to learn new skills. Absolutely. I cannot be the same person I was a year ago because now I'm facing other things and different challenges. And I'm always excited to learn and do all these things for many years. So what do you think is the most important lesson you have learned about yourself by running a business?
We'll figure it out. I tell my wife this all the time. And as we were, you'll figure it out. That's kind of like been me and my wife's mantra since we got married. A challenge comes up, we'll look at each other, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like no doubt, not a doubt.
100%.
We'll figure it out.
Yes.
So I think business is the same thing. There's going to be a different challenge, but the confidence in knowing that I'll figure it out. True. I might be wrong a couple of times, but we'll get there.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of having confidence in that you can take a risk, you can try something, but eventually you're going to figure that shit out. Like it's going to happen and you're going to see success just because of your mentality and your dedication to what you're building.
Sure.
You're going to figure it out. And I say that for family.
Yeah.
Challenges, having kids, there's challenges. They're going to school. Now they're like, I want to go into college. Like, how do you pay for it? We got more coming up to do. But we always look at, hey, we'll figure it out. Like, we'll sort it out. It's going to be a little bumpy, but we'll figure it out. So that's always been like me and Sarah's mantra, not only for like my business decisions, but for family decisions and all that stuff. Just having that confidence that, might not have the answer now.
So, but you have had that confidence since the beginning, or at least maybe not the confidence, but the mindset. We'll figure it out.
The mindset, yes. And sometimes you got to say it out loud.
Yeah, that's part of,
because you don't believe it.
That's right.
When you're not saying it, so you got to say it out loud.
That's part of who you are.
Yeah,
being like that.
Yeah.
But I want to know, what have you changed about yourself because of the business? Like something that you have learned that you're like, oh, dude, I need to change this because my business needs me to be different.
Yeah, letting go a little bit. I think trusting my team, trusting that, I talk about my work family, because I got two families. I got my work family, I got my family, my kid family.
Yeah.
And just trusting. And, earlier this year, we all got together at the beginning of the year. And one of the things I challenged everybody to do, and really is for myself, is, like, trust your gut. Like, if you feel confident about something, go with it. Cause I was I would control my opinion, like, I like that, but like at some point my opinion is going to be invalid within this company, or that's the ultimate goal is we need to get out of it. And like, my opinion can't control everything.
Yes.
So I think learning to kind of let go of that, letting things happen in their own way, or just putting guide rails up rather than, roadblocks.
Yep.
Is a big one. Cause I think sometimes I'd be like, I don't like it. Stop it all. Rather than being like, okay, I see where you're going. And sometimes that works. Sure. And sometimes it's like, wow, that, I'd be like, what if we did it this way? And then they present that, and they'd be like, the client would be like, I don't like that idea. And I was like, oh, that was my idea. Should have just let them do what they were doing. Oh, yeah. And that's happened enough where it's like, just let them go. And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sure. And it's fine. But everybody has to figure out how to work through that too. So I think, let's make this eloquent. Put up guide rails, not roadblocks.
Nice.
Okay. There's my quote for the thing.
That's your TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Quote that. Stitch it, reel it.
Yeah.
TikTok it. Yeah. I think just kind of getting out of the way a little bit. I think I got in my own way for a long time, and just trusting the team, knowing that they're going to do a great job. If they need me, they'll holler and be like, "Hey, this is going a little sideways." I'll pop in and analyze the situation. We'll figure out something together. But
sure.
I wasn't like that. I wasn't always like that. I was very in the work, emotionally attached to the work.
Yes.
And that's something that's harder to get out from under. So.
Yeah, but you have to go through those stages of growth and be a certain way to learn that, okay, it's not working anymore.
Yes.
Now let me.
I feel like it's a natural evolution.
Let me switch my strategy.
Yeah, some people come to it quicker than others, for sure.
Yeah.
And I was attached to the work for a long time. So 43 years old, figuring it out now, which is totally fine. So.
Nice. Do you have any questions for me?
For Jack?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's my turn. So one of my favorite things, which we always talked business, right? Mm-hmm. When we were taught, it's always grow, scale.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things to do is talk design with you, honestly. And that's I've enjoyed this conversation because I feel like we've touched on that a little more than we do. But all right, what brought you to architecture? And, what was that one project where you knew like this space making, this emotional connection to design was it? Like, is there a pinpoint moment where there's like a project? It's like this one.
There are, I will say, three moments.
Three. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Perfect. You were ready for this.
And thank you for that question because it's helping me organize it in my mind. And there were three key moments. The first one was when I graduated from high school at 16 years old. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that I did was enroll into engineering school. So I had no idea. I was a kid.
Sounds good.
I'm trying I'm so smart. I'm going to do engineering. And I started engineering and it was a nightmare. That was back in Colombia.
You didn't like it?
No, it was like calculus and math every single day at 7 a.m.
Out.
It was insane.
Absolutely.
And I was like, no, I'm good with math. No, these people, they're really good. Anyway, 6 months of my life where I was like, I cannot do this. This doesn't fit me. It's horrible. I talk to my parents. I feel bad. They pay for 6 months. And I said, I want to do something else. So one day I was I was just walking on my neighborhood, getting to my house. I ran into a friend. She was going to architecture school, but she had a model in her hand, like an architectural model, like of a house or something. Cardboard and things like that. So when I saw that, I was like, what is that? And she starts explaining to me in basic kind of design terms, because it was more of an abstract model to kind of, because it was early, like first year of design.
Yeah.
Like design principles, harmony and equilibrium,
balance,
texture.
space.
So when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, what is that? She said, like, yeah, and this means this, that. I'm like, that's what I'm doing. So that day it was key, because okay, let's do it. So I went to the same school she went, and amazing. So I'm going all the way through my career. It was a 5-year degree.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere maybe towards the end, I got very passionate about the topic, and I really love architecture. I think architecture is the perfect combination between art and technique. Architecture, art and technique. You can be very artistic and draw beautiful and do renderings and imagine, but at some point that needs to become a construction, and a human needs to live there and needs to be safe.
There's a functional balance,
right?
To
there
the
is
creativity.
numbers, there is rigor, there is geometry, there's
purpose,
there is cost.
Yes.
So there is this massive spectrum in the architecture that any person can fit anywhere, because we need the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But even more than that, because that's kind of the task of creating architecture, which is what I feel is my role in society, right? Mm-hmm. Create spaces, the scenario for people to perform live.
Yes.
Right? But there was the second point, which was a breaking point internally for me, I would say mentally, in my conception of architecture, and is when I realized of the understanding, and that was on my own, that the definition of architecture, my definition is architecture is void space. Architecture is empty space. Architecture is what is left after you define the space with roof, walls, lighting, and you create
the areas.
Areas
in
you
between.
create an experience for a human brain to experience.
It's like jazz.
Yes. So what's amazing is that you cannot see architecture. You see the containers of architecture, the roofs, and then they have physical qualities for like beauty, balance, harmony, like graphics. Mm-hmm. But it's, for example, that's the difference between sculpture and architecture. A sculpture, you can do a building. It looks like a building, but it's not functional. You cannot go in because the walls are slanted.
It's about the form.
That's sculpture, and there is aesthetic value. Architecture has that value, and then the space, because humans need to be able to use it in a functional way, and they need to feel excited and engaged by the experience, not the look of the material face of the architecture. So that was the second point where I was like, shoot. It's not what you guys think. It is this.
Hitting. There's another layer to this thing.
Yes. So that
it's
was
just, there's multiple facades to this idea. Yeah, that's fun.
Yes. So that's that one, and I said I had a third one, right?
You did. Do you remember it?
Man,
That's my next question. Do you remember your third option?
If I don't remember, I'll make it up.
Yeah, we can make one up. The moment, that third moment.
Yes.
That hit you. What was it?
So that one, this one.
Was it early on, or was it like?
No, it was chronologically. So it must have been recent. I think it's part of I feel that my role in society is create spaces for other humans to enjoy. Yeah. And like feel like that's my role. That's what I do.
Absolutely.
Other people, they have other roles, if it's a doctor, it's to heal people. So I feel that, I feel cool because I feel that I have a role, I have a passion, I have meaning because I love it. I think it's interesting.
It is.
I like thinking about it because like everything, there's different levels of, for example, to me, there is a difference between architecture and construction. There is a lot of construction.
Oh, of course.
All these
Yes.
buildings that people never thought about it. Same way you can have a website that could be
Slap it up.
like put some things there.
AI generated.
Right.
Bam!
And is that,
There you go.
and then is there art there or not? So it's the same conversation. Like, okay, how do you become the guard of what's really important in terms of architecture?
Right. How do you make driving down the street and looking to your right and see, oh, that's nice, rather than driving down the street and looking over and being like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, can you find a moment in everybody's day that they,
Oh yeah.
and it may be, subconscious. They're not going to every day be like, that building, I love it. But every day driving by it, they don't mind it. And they glance at it, and it provides a piece to the community, or a feeling, or it feels like part of it.
That's I think it may happen the same with you when you look at websites, and your sensibility starts to become more.
Well, you've got to engage with these
Increase
things.
your sensibility increases. So buildings that maybe before I never pay attention to, I'm like, this is interesting. I like this.
This is a good
how
point.
is this working?
This is a good parallel, because you have to engage with a building.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to go there for a function. You might have to go there for a meeting. Like, your part of your day is you're being forced to be in this place. It can either be enjoyable or it can be annoying, just like a digital space.
Yes.
I want to go to this museum. When I go to this website, can I find what I need quickly and it be an enjoyable experience?
Yes.
Or am I going to have to be a little frustrated? How do you bring a little bit of that enjoyment to that person's day? Because they got to be there anyway.
Yes.
They got to be in your space.
And they want to be
It
there.
might as well be like, oh, the bathroom's right there. The desks are spacious.
It should be efficient, exciting.
This is a nice little organic area that they've created, just like the website. Oh, this loaded fast. Yes. I can find exactly what I wanted because somebody thought that I should put the buy a ticket button in the hours right at the top. You know what I mean? Like, there's a thought process that went into the space. You got to be there anyway. Might as well be enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you could slap a site up there and the information would be there, but you might get a little frustrated getting to it. So you might as well be on the flip side of it. So it's an interesting parallel.
Yeah.
It's a different space. It's a digital space versus a physical space, but these people still got to go to a site to find some information. They still got to go to a building to do a meeting. You might as well, flip the script a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
That's an interesting parallel I haven't thought about. So I like that.
Nice. Cool. All right, Ben, we got 1 hour exactly of conversation.
Right. So now we're going to start another podcast about
this was the warm-up.
Super deep design, because I enjoy those conversations the most, I think, with you. We've been talking business all the time. Like, I just love talking design. That's the fun stuff.
Nice.
That's the fun stuff.
All right, Ben, thanks so much
for
coming over.
Good wine.
Very excited about what you're doing. I mean, you guys do amazing work. I'm very proud of what you've been doing. I enjoy your friendship.
Yes.
And man, I keep
known each other for a year. I was thinking on the way up here, I was like, it feels like 10 years.
Yes,
I know. It feels longer than
and I look forward, man, just to keep helping each other and see where we go, because we're very privileged to be able to be here and enjoy what we have.
I keep saying it, this is the fun stuff. We get to do the fun stuff day in, day out. So
that's
absolutely.
Right. Cool. Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content, and find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.